Hello. Hello, everyone, and very warm welcome to our webinar, How to Boost Staff Productivity and Improve Process Efficiency. MIT Sloan did a study and found that organizations easily throw away about 15 to 20% of their revenue dealing with the data quality issues. That's a huge chunk. They also discovered that staff members have been found to waste up to 50% of their time dealing with avoidable data quality issues. So, eliminating data quality issues is perhaps one of the easier ways to reduce costs, make smarter decisions, and enhance the client experience. So, to transition from dirty to delightful, I, Ray Saberwal from Athena Software, will be your host today. And with me, I have Colm Keenan from Inspire Wellbeing Ireland and Jordan Fox, our Penelope expert and VP of Global Sales at Athena. In the next 30 to 45 minutes, we will be discussing a few things. One, what are the common data quality issues within the human services world? Two, what are the ways to resolve them? Three, how Inspire Wellbeing has been dealing with them. And lastly, how Penelope, our case management platform, can help social service organizations reduce or eliminate these data quality issues. So this will be a group discussion between the three of us, with me moderating the dialogues between Colm and Jordan. We won't have any PowerPoints presentations. And if you have any questions, please send them through the webinar console. We will try to address them during the conversation. And you know what? If we are unable to, then we will probably send them over after the conversation is over through an email to you. So before we proceed, let us meet the panelists for today. Jordan, do you want to kickstart?
Sure. My name is Jordan Fox, and I'm the Vice President of International Sales here for Social Solutions. I've been with what was formerly Athena Software and is now Social Solutions for just over 6 years, and manage everything outside of the US market for Penelope and associated products.
Thank you, Jordan. Colm, do you want to say something about yourself?
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Ray. My name's Colm Keenan, and I'm the Operations and Systems Manager for Inspire Wellbeing. We're an all-Ireland-based mental health charity, and we offer counselling services in workplaces and to students right across Ireland. Locally speaking, we're quite a big concern, and we oversee from a very small centralised staff team the delivery of counselling services right across the island through a network of associate counsellors.
Wonderful, thank you. And Jordan, really appreciate you mentioning social solutions. I think I overlooked that aspect, presuming that everyone in the audience knows that Athena Software is now Social Solutions. But thank you for that reminder. So coming back to the point, Jordan, this is a very interesting topic, especially given the current pandemic landscape, where service delivery models have evolved, funding parameters have changed, and organizations are searching for a way to reduce costs. So in your discussions with various segments of professionals within the nonprofit and social service agencies, what are some of the examples of the data quality issues that you guys discuss or that have been brought to you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it is certainly a unanimously global problem that people are facing around data quality, and it's described differently, but they're describing the same problem in every region that we work in. My favorite description of it is with our Australian partners, who call it their monthly exam cram time, where they have certain monthly reports that they have to submit, and they jokingly say it feels like they're back in university or college, as they all sort of cram to make sure their data is clean for the reporting, so that it pulls okay. And anyone who has been through any kind of schooling, whereas there is that cramming period before a test, knows that that's a feeling that you typically want to avoid. And essentially that's at the crux of what DQIL is built to solve, is to say that you want to, in little bits every day, ensure that the data that you're putting into the system is clean and accurate, so that you don't have that cramming period right before the actual submission.
Now, that's wonderful. So why are these data quality issues so important, Jordan?
Well, they're important for a variety of reasons. I'd say one is clinical. You want the data to be accurate because it can have, depending on what kind of data our partners are collecting, clinical consequences for the people that they're serving. So that's probably first and foremost, because we know that our agency partners are putting their clients first, saying that we're ultimately here to serve them. So data plays a huge role in that. But the second is, most of the reporting that's being collected is to either keep or go and get different or more funding, and ensuring that you have accurate data to portray the picture of the work that you're doing, the outcomes that your agency is achieving, is really important to keep that funding flowing, which is the lifeblood of any agency that we're working with.
No, that's wonderful. Great points. Colm, why do you think, from your perspective, being actually on the agency side, why are these issues so important?
Well, I suppose first just to say that I can empathize entirely and identify with what Jordan's described there in terms of that monthly cram, because we have a similar experience ourselves where it's the dreaded month-end preparations, and honestly, you could lose sleep over it. And I suppose at a very basic level, that's why it's so important. The data that we capture, we don't do it for fun. It is all purposeful. And given the volume of what we're dealing with, even a small percentage error in input has a significant impact when we come to those month-end cycles from our perspective, both from a customer reporting perspective, but also from an invoicing perspective, because that speaks to your credibility as an agency also. If you're billing incorrectly, if you're giving people incorrect information about the services that you're providing on their behalf, and that really speaks to long-term sustainability also, doesn't it, of your business. And again, at a very basic level, the man-hour 8 that is taken up in correcting these matters is just completely unsustainable, and something that causes dread or can cause dread. Certainly did cause dread on a month-by-month basis.
Right. Yeah, no, that's very interesting. So before we discuss any further specificities, Colm, can you please elaborate a bit more about your agency, Inspire Wellbeing, in terms of what services you offer, how many locations you operate out of, and how many clients do you serve on average per month, say?
Yeah, of course. So as I said, we're part of a larger mental health charity. We're a social economy arm of that charity. So we are there to generate income that then feeds back into the charitable services that we deliver. And we're very passionate about that. We deliver through our counselling business. We deliver a number of different services. We have our EAP counselling delivered to workplace employees. Those are commissioned by large-scale public and private sector employers. We also cover pretty much all of the further and higher level students in the north of Ireland, and a smaller number in the south. And we do that right across the whole island, and that's everywhere from population centres in Dublin, Galway, Belfast, Cork, right out to the furthest reaches of rural most Western Ireland and Mayo and Kerry and places like this. So it's in Irish terms, it's vast. I was having a look at some of our numbers, bearing in mind that 2020 was essentially a pandemic year. We're delivering, we delivered over 65,000 one-to-one counselling sessions in that time to over 14,000 clients. And we've experienced an almost 40% drop in demand for services in pandemic times. So if you just extrapolate out from there, you're talking about nearly 20,000 individuals using the service across a year, and nearly 90,000 sessions delivered in a similar time frame. So it's quite a concern, and we do all of that using a network of local counsellors, associate counsellors, and one of the challenges in that, of course, is that counsellors are absolutely fantastic. The therapists are fantastic at what they do. They're there to help and support people. They are not always the most technologically savvy cohort of within the population. So they, like all of us and like any group of people, some will be better with the technology than others. Some will make more mistakes than others, and we have to account for all of that. I suppose beyond those workplaces and students services, we also deliver a lot of trauma service, supporting blue light services, defence forces, police, ambulance services, and we do a lot of higher intensity and longer focused trauma work. So it's quite a lot.
That's great. And you sort of touched on like a couple of these points in that description there, which was great. But do you mind expanding a little bit more on specifically the service delivery model that your organization uses? Because I know that we have, I can see in our panel here of the amount of people that we have attending, there's a wide variety of service delivery methods globally that people are using Penelope for. So I would love to learn a little bit more about what specific service delivery model you use.
Yeah, of course. So I suppose that for the bulk of what we do, we use a solution-focused brief therapy model, which is a very focused short-term engagement of 4 to 6 sessions, based mainly on the idea of presentational, situational presentation, and we try to stabilize the individual to ensure that they remain in work or continue with their studies, and that's done using a blended approach to that therapy. So that covers quite a lot of what we do. We do other things as well. That trauma work that we've spoken about, we engage the services of clinical psychologists. We offer CBT programs, and we've recently launched a number of group support services, particularly aimed at the younger population, particularly then again within the student population. And I suppose for what we're doing, we are taking almost all elements of talking therapies and applying them based on individual need, and that's everywhere from those short-term 4-session models aimed at tackling presenteeism and ensuring stability, all the way through to those longer-term trauma-focused models. So it's quite a wide-ranging service delivery model, and it's all primarily nowadays, of course, done via video platform or over the phone. But beyond that, and before the pandemic times, we would have done that almost exclusively in one-to-one settings, in person, face-to-face with people.
Yeah, no, thank you for, again, I think most of the attendees in our discussion today must have followed the same model as you have in the current pandemic situation. And if not, I think these options are fairly easy to adapt and adopt. So those should be really, that should be a good mechanism. And I think moving into the future, it will be a dual model, in-person as well as remote service delivery. But again, depending on the organization and the geography and the audience or the clientele you serve, that will dictate a lot. So, but anyways, thank you, Colm, for giving us the insights. And let me congratulate you and Inspire Wellbeing for doing such a great work. So when dealing with such a huge network, data quality, as you pointed out, a single mistake or a single error can be quite onerous. Data quality certainly becomes a critical factor. So what are some of the challenges that your team came across related to data quality?
Yeah. So I suppose the challenges that we're facing mainly relate to errors in input or failure to input, things around the billing information, funders and policies not being added correctly, or sometimes when they are added, not being sequenced correctly, notifications to counsellors not being picked up, service units not being added to service events, oftentimes because of the volume that we're talking about. Attendance, updating of attendance post-session can be missed. And but beyond that as well, there are some human errors that will happen from time to time when you're dealing with large volumes in a fast-paced business environment. Sometimes mistakes will happen, and sometimes bad habits will creep in for no apparent reason. It could be done perfectly for a long period of time, and then seemingly for no reason, one person will decide to try something a different way, and errors can creep in that way as well.
Yeah, no, understood. But it doesn't sound that ominous, though, does it?
No, it doesn't. I suppose it doesn't if you look at them all, individually. And if they were only to occur once in a while, then it wouldn't be so bad. But when you're dealing with a wide range of users, some of whom will be using the system day by day, they'll be using it as their main tool for services every day, every working day, all the way down to those associates that perhaps support 1, 2, 3 clients across a month that are maybe logging in every now and again. You've got real variety in terms of the expertise levels that you've got there, and also the ability, because of that form of engagement, for mispractice and errors and input to creep in and to continue there. So you need to be able to identify it and keep on top of that. And I suppose, again, just, if it was individual or now and again, it wouldn't be that bad. But, you start magnifying that to 300 and 400 scheduled events every month, or, sometimes even up as far as 600 in a month that haven't got attendance marked correctly, or haven't had the service unit added correctly, or even sometimes, having multiple service units added to the single service event. Which is not how we operate, and that becomes a much bigger challenge.
Yeah, no, I understand. So 1 or 2 instances of error are admissible, but when they are multiplied by the times of the instances being used, and then multiplied by the number of users it has been used with, then it certainly becomes onerous and can be quite painful. That kind of makes sense. So,
yeah, I suppose, sorry, just to say on that as well, because we focus on the time, but we're still operating, albeit on a social enterprise basis in a commercial world, and the impact that multiple errors can have on revenue, on cash flow, can also be a critical element that need to be considered.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, dimes and cents can multiply into hundreds of dollars eventually.
Absolutely.
If it continues to persist. So thank you, Colm, again. I now get it, the volume of, the volume it can go to. So how do you resolve these data quality, or how did you resolve these data quality issues that you just mentioned?
Yeah, so we did struggle with them. We had introduced Penelope as our new case management tool, and we're very excited to do so. But like any new system coming in, there were always going to be teething problems, and we had foreseen that, and we had a nice project team that sat around it. And then there were certain things that we just assumed would work smoothly, such as adding service units. Just seemed nice and simple when you were working through the process, and we didn't consider that things like that could become ongoing issues. What we were able to do is to work with our account team in Athena to come up with solutions to identify, recurring issues, to explain our story and tell our story to them, and to take some feedback. Had they come across things like this in the past? Were there simple things that we were missing internally that could perhaps help us along that journey? And working in partnership, then we were able to find solutions to most of the problems that we were experiencing.
Okay. All right. No, this is wonderful. Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
I was going to say, and I think that really is like the best way to do it. So we have a list of essentially like pre-configured options for the DQIL list, and like most things in Penelope that are pre-configured, they come from sort of best practice that have been developed or suggested by a lot of our client partners. But we do have the capacity to build out specific options for partners if they do need, a specific option built out. And that's the same with, when we're building out workflows or reporting, same premise. But it seems like your team got a very, custom solution, and it's delivering what you hoped it would deliver so far, which is great.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Absolutely.
That was a good interruption. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the fact that you brought in that the Inspire team got a customized solution. Dan, what is considered a standard DQIL module? But before we get into what is included in our standard DQIL, Colm, can you share the value of DQIL solution your team implemented? This will be helpful to the audience because I think they are all here to understand, should they or should they not, and when they should get the DQIL module.
Yeah, and the impact of DQIL was significant from our perspective. So we seen almost immediately a 47% reduction in the amount of service events that didn't have a service unit associated with them, and that, that's in one fell swoop. That's a huge chunk. It saved significant amount of time in terms of staff time. So we saved with around 7 hours per person there. That was in staff time alone, moving from around an estimated 12 hours per month focused on fixing these errors down to about 5 hours per month. And that's, reflecting the totality of the different DQIL solutions that we introduced. That made significant savings for us. Obviously, that saved time has an impact and a knock-on right across the business. We can focus on other areas. We're not having to have that monthly cram just as much as we were previously. And it improved the accuracy of our reporting, both to our customers from an activity basis, but also from a financial reporting basis. And that has some very obvious advantages in terms of sustainability.
Yeah, no, these are some great savings, and many of them actually being quantified, which, to provide justification to your financial team. So I hope, you're able to do that and paint a beautiful picture to your finance team. Jordan, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, no, I would reiterate that that's great. And thank you so much, Colm, for tracking that and for sharing your story with us, because, in Penelope's history, this is a brand new feature. Or feature set available for the product. So it's great to hear that it's in use and that it's doing, again, what it was built to do. That's awesome to hear. And I can share sort of a couple others for groups that are on the line right now and listening in terms of some of those out of the box default standards that a lot of organizations adopt with DQIL right away. One is a good example is like a default date of birth was selected for an individual. So it's not uncommon to add a new individual through an intake in Penelope, and it defaults to the default date of birth. But you want that record to be updated. So this is a typical sort of use case. Another one would be a past service group event or something has not been taken. So if you do need event information to be updated with attendance, the DQIL will still sort of essentially highlight any events where that didn't take place and where it's important to keep that client's record up to date and tracking, and especially even more critical if it has billing or invoicing implications. Very much a common use case that we see. The other one for agencies that use policies, and for those who don't know policies, you want to get in touch with us, and we'd be happy to walk you through and show you what funders and policies are in Penelope. And this is for organizations that do billing for their services. So if a policy exists for an individual, but it's not part of an actual sequence, this is another alert that can be sort of flagged using the DQIL, and for obvious reasons with ensuring that invoicing and billing's actually done, especially if it's the main source of funding for your organization. You want to make sure that that's a process that's ironed out. But that's definitely not all. Like I mentioned earlier, when I was sort of interrupting Colm there, our team can customize sort of any other scenarios. I wouldn't say any other, there are parameters that have to be followed, but other sort of custom scenarios for customers if they do want to look at those. And that's something that our team can definitely dive into for those. What I would say, if you want to see the options that are available out of the box, or if you want to talk about what is possible from a configured standpoint, I would say reach out to us, and we'd be happy to schedule you a demo of just the DQIL component. If you do want to see other pieces of Penelope, great, but we're happy to just focus on DQIL, and that shouldn't take any more than 15 to 20 minutes, to be honest.
No, perfect. That's wonderful. Jordan, do you see any questions coming in? Because the one I had was, how do they reach out to them if they're an existing Penelope user?
Existing Penelope users, you'd want to reach out to your customer success manager. If you aren't sure who that is, you can always use their general email, like info@athenasoftware.net, and they'd be happy to point you in the right direction. But if you do know who your customer success manager is, even better. And I'd encourage you to reach out to them.
Perfect. And folks, for you who are attending or who had to leave earlier on in the discussion, we will be sharing the link to this recording, after this webinar is over, perhaps sometime tomorrow, if not certainly on Monday. But that's all the time we had for today. So I want to thank you, both Jordan and Colm, for your time and your patience and walking us through. So with this, we do come to an end of today's discussion. And once again, thank you, everyone, and stay safe. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.